Cabin Fever Crochet. I hope you are having a great day today. I'm so happy to be here with my basket full of blossoms. Caron blossom cakes, that is. And as you can see, I got an assortment. I'm going to work up one project gradient with that center color as my contrasting. And I already have something in mind, and I will be bringing a tutorial for that when I make my final decisions on the stitches, because I think this yarn is really going to vary how it works up depending on the stitches used. Now the lighting is kind of funky here today. It's a challenge on any given day, but especially when it's overcast. So in a minute I'm going to head over to my table, show you the crochet and knit swatches I worked up, and then with more consistent, better overhead lighting, then you can see exactly, I'll tell you which color is which. You get quite a fair amount of this, and I really scored. I saw it online, and then I saw a couple of reviews on YouTube, but I just knew this is what I have been looking for and waiting for a couple of years. And when I went into the store, they must have just gotten in because they had a very good stock supply, and I'm going to insert some pictures I filmed when I was there, and I'll tell you a little bit about what's what. And I did look at the Cinnamon Swirls, the new cakes, which I did not get, and I'll tell you why also. But you get 8 ounces, 227 grams, 481 yards, 440 meters. Retails now for $12.99 each, but I did a buy online, pick up in store with the discount, and then I had an additional coupon, so it made it very reasonable, and it seems really nice, good quality. It reminds me now of this, and I'll scroll it across the screen because I don't know how to pronounce it, but I had been looking at the River Washed and their Stone Washed yarn. I know it's a very high-end brand. I have not seen it in person, so I don't know how it compares to this yarn, but visually is what it reminded me of, a chain spun yarn, and because of the high cotton content and the acrylic, which seems very, I don't know how that in the manufacture process that gave it a little bit of halo and very soft and lofted up, because the chainette or the chain spun is going to be a little more dense. So it's a real nice middle of the road combination of the two, and depending on the stitch and the hook size is really going to make a difference how your project comes out. Whether if you go more dense, smaller hook, you're going to feel a little bit more that cottony textural feel, versus a little bit larger hook and a stitch that might help the yarn bloom a little bit. So it's 61% cotton, 39 acrylic, and it's not the dishclothy cotton. I mean, it's very squishy, very soft. And yes, I would love to know, have you seen the yarn? Have you purchased it? And if so, if you've already made something, what? Or what are your plans for it? I'd love to know. And I went back in less than a week later to get one more cake. Unbelievable. The shelves were nearly empty in comparison. So here's what it looked like the first time I went in with all of the colors, including 6 more that I did not get. And then the second time, whoop, just about wiped out. And since this is so popular already, I really hope Michaels is going to keep this in stock as a regular instead of those here today, gone tomorrow, limited edition yarns. And now taking a look at the new Caron Cinnamon Swirls, an absolutely beautiful assortment of colorways. I was hesitant to try because even though they do look like the Hobie Horizon cakes, which I have not tried yet to compare, so I did a couple of field tests instead. First, I squished the yarn, ran my fingers over it, and it felt pretty soft. But then the true test for me is what I call my compression test, where I'll press the yarn between my fingers and run them back and forth like that. And that gives a pretty good indication gauge a sense for me on how soft or coarse the yarn might be overall, and I did feel a little more texture, a little more coarseness, and because I have sensitive skin, I wasn't sure how much I would really enjoy working with that because of it. And since I am destashing, although very, very tempting that it was, I decided to pass on it for now. All right, so let's head on over to my table and I will show you what's what. All right, I'm going to show you the swatches first and then go into the different colors. And I just worked up a very small knit swatch. I wanted to see how that looked and felt, the yarn in both textural wise, and also to see how crochet and knit frogs. Because at first glance I thought because of the halo, this could catch on itself. And it does a little bit. I already tested it out once in the crochet, but not as bad as some. And it was, oh, if you've ever worked with the Red Heart Unforgettable or those fuzzy roving type of yarns, it doesn't catch like that. Just a little bit. You just have to go a little slower. Be careful. It wasn't anything difficult and it was easy to get out. Alright, so I'm going to start with, this is the color, might as well show you that now, Tide Pool, and hues of blues and greens. And there's even a bit of teal in there as well. Really pretty. I think this would go with so many different colors and a wardrobe. It could become almost a neutral in a way. And so here is my crochet sample, and I tested out 4 different types of hooks. So 3 of the furls, the Candy Shop, the Swirls, and the Odyssey. Now metal is always my favorite hook, but I'm not able to use those right now because of recent hand surgery. Oh, and I also tested out in Prim, P-R-Y-M hook, which is a polished plastic acrylic type, and of course the metal, it's going to glide on the hook easiest of all, but they all worked really pretty equally well. Setting the metal aside, because that's going to be the fastest, the smoothest, but it didn't hang up on any of them, didn't catch with the differences in sharpness, smoothness, points, whether how pointy or rounded the tip was, worked equally as well. So I started off in an I 5.5 millimeter hook and then went up to a J 6 millimeter and then back down to an I hook and a different stitch, and that's why my sides are going in and out, just to test those out, and then went up to a J here. So you can see the difference a little bit perhaps. The stitches are of course going to be tighter, closer together, more dense. We're a little more open and drape, and then with the larger hook, and then these are just double crochets, single crochets, and then double single together in one stitch up to the clusters at the top. The clusters wound up there. They are on the wrong side of the work. I worked all those in a J 6 millimeter, so there's definitely more spacing in between. But again, on the hook sizes equally as well. If you want even more open lacy stitches, you could probably go up to a 6.5 millimeter K hook, somewhere in that range, but I think J for sure. And I just suggest testing out, doing a small swatch of the stitches that you are going to make your project in, and then going from there depending on how you like that. So again, it does have a bit of that cottony feel. Well, there's cotton in it, but it's a soft cotton. It's not a dishcloth type of cotton by any means. Alright, so that is my crochet sample, and here is my small knit, just in the knit stitch, just enough to see how that looks. I'm a novice and a slow knitter, so I didn't want to do too much, but just enough to give a sense of that, so you can see the pretty stitch definition. This is a 6mm knitting needles, and I like that very much. I think I could easily go down, or again up one if I want it more open and lacy. And beautiful, beautiful gradient colors. And this one is in passion fruit, and I am passionate for passion fruit. I love this so much. These colors, I've mentioned a time or two how they're kind of a throwback to my youth, but I just love them. They kind of remind me of sherbet. And the really pretty and gradient orchid to pink and coral, a little bit of orange in there, and even going into like a sunshine yellow shade. So that one is passion fruit. Alright, so while I have these out, let's just go ahead and see how they frog, okay? And I already told you what happened before. Let's start with the knitting. And with this just regular knit stitch, that comes out very, very easy, even going faster, not catching. So if it catches, see, just a little bit right there, but it comes apart easily too. And that's going to depend on the stitches that you use. Some naturally will undo easier than others. So now here with the crochet, I have a variety of stitches. Let's just pull out the cluster stitches. My chair. One of these days I'm actually going to remember to oil my chair. See, there we go. I probably hear that squeaking in the background. Hopefully it's not annoying. Here we go on single crochets. Okay, caught a little bit. Right there. Could take scissor. Might have to go in with a real skinny needle nose scissor to get in there and trim that rather than pull it, pop it like I did, because now you see how it fuzzed out the yarn quite a bit from doing that, from popping them apart versus cutting that. But if you have a pair of scissors where they have a real fine tip, you could just put it right underneath the strand where it caught and pull it out from there. And I can feel that these single crochets are definitely more inclined to catch on itself. So be careful. You'll just have to go a little bit slowly. And what I do is I support the base of the stitch as I'm pulling it out. So that way the tension is only on the top portion and not kind of filtering down into the base of it. The tension is not kind of migrating into the base. The tension as I'm pulling stays more to the top, and it helps to prevent it from catching on itself. So that's maybe factoring into this decision on the type of stitches that you work with. If it's a more advanced or complicated pattern, if you think you might be more likely to make mistakes in that, I don't know, maybe it's up to you, or go with something that is easier to crochet up. I don't know, just a thought suggestion there. I can still feel just a slight little hitch, a little catch now and then. Alright, so that's that, and then now let's just go over the other yarns in no particular order, just as I grab them. This beautiful teals, aqua, turquoise, love these. Has a little bit of a going into a hint of gray denim-y type of color. That is just so pretty. This is such a beautiful colorway. Caribbean Sea is the name of this one. Next up are shades of orchid, lilac, lavender, periwinkle is what that reads to me. And this is called Blossoms. Blossoms. Okay, and this is Radiant Rainbow. can see, you have all different hues from corals, kind of a reddish pink. Oh, this is such a pretty green. It's oh, how would I just, beautiful. I'm not even sure how I would describe that. It's a green with a little bit of hint of blue and then going into more of a grass green. Just a really nice combination of colors in there. It's going to work up real pretty and look very nice as I graduate from one color into the next. And two more. This one I thought would go well with the purple. Transition into that, and even with this pretty passion fruit. And it works back to that a little bit. Oh, it wasn't easy to decide. Oh, let me tell you, I labored over that for a while. Back and forth, online, in the store. Tropical Blooms, that's the name of this color, where it has the pretty lavender and a little bit of the orchid pink colors, the yellow, a little bit of that, kind of that sunshine yellow color in there as well. And then last up is the neutral that I picked, and this is called Yacht Club. And you can see it has pretty cream colors leaning a little bit into the taupey gray, a little bit of beige with the hint of that yellow in there, and then the soft white, off-white, and more of the gray tones. That's going to make a lovely, lovely neutral. And it'll be real pretty with the rose because each section might come out a little differently, which to me makes it even more exciting and fun as I'm working it up. Surprises all along the way just adds more interest and fun to the project. All right, everyone, that is it for today's visit. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I hope you will come back to see what I have in store for the tutorial for this yarn. All right, take good care, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.